Next Sunday game is Man United against Chelsea, 4:30 kickoff at Old Trafford. Of course, big news surrounding Man United as Ten Hag was sacked after the loss to West Ham, with Van Nistelrooy sort of assuming managerial responsibilities on an interim basis. He did get the new manager bounce as expected, as Man United stormed to a 5-2 victory midweek over Leicester, with Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro the star performers with respective braces. It adds a layer of complexity to betting for this one. Obviously, when there is a new manager, especially an interim manager, it's sort of difficult to predict how they set up, sort of what changes will be implemented. So this is probably, even though it's the biggest game of the weekend, it's also probably the biggest banana skin fixture. So one to keep an eye on and be wary of. For Chelsea, we obviously saw Enzo Maresca rotate to his sort of familiar Cup 11. And they were beaten 2-0 at St James's Park by a pretty much full strength Newcastle side. So nothing really unexpected there. On the injury report, we have quite a lot of injuries to contend with for Man United, who will be without the likes of Kobbie Mainoo, Luke Shaw still, who's out, and Harry Maguire. Nasser Mazraoui was a doubt midweek after being taken off at West Ham, but he did appear off the bench against Leicester. So I would imagine we see a sort of familiar starting 11 for Man United that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Chelsea are another team with a small injury list, with Sancho the only sort of notable absentee. So we should see Neto come in to replace Modric. But again, we had a lot of the starters afforded a rest midweek, so they had the advantage in that sense of a longer preparation time. Both teams are extremely evenly matched. They're both actually priced identically at 2.6 to win with Bet365, which makes it so difficult to approach this game. For now, all of the angles I've got are just leans. It does need a bit of a deeper look, a deeper dive into this game. And as I say, it's one to be wary of. So the first lean I have is based on Cole Palmer, who actually scored in both games against Man United last season. He had 9 shots at Stamford Bridge with 5 on target and scored a hat-trick. So he'll probably be the one most looking forward to this game. He's currently priced at 6-4 for anytime goal scorer with William Hill. But I'd probably be leaning towards a sort of over 3.5 shots type of angle, which is priced at 2.1 with Bet365. Garnacho was another player who impressed in the previous head-to-head, as he netted a brace. In that game, he had 4 shots, 2 on target, and 2 goals, obviously, at Stamford Bridge. And in the reverse fixture, he had 8 shots with 1 on target. So, again, he's one to sort of keep an eye on for this one. If we look into his data for this season, he's actually averaging the most shots per 90 for Man United. He's averaging 4.38 shots per 90, and it's some pretty ridiculous data. Scored in the last game against Leicester, which is always a good sign. Should be full of confidence. And you can actually get Garnacho to have a shot on target and 2 shots at 1.72 with Bet365, which looks a pretty nice price. I think Chelsea are obviously a bit more resolute defensively than they were last season. Maresca, I think, deserves a bit of credit for how he's come in, dealt with a sort of very inflated, very bloated squad, narrowed it down to his best 11, and they have been performing relatively well. But with that in mind, I do think Man United at home should be really, really confident of pushing on for a victory here. Another potential angle actually is for Lisandro Martinez to make 2 or more tackles, which is priced at 1.72 with Bet365. It looks a nice price because it's landed in each of the last 4 games for him. The only concern would be he's sort of a bit of a hothead, overly aggressive in his play, and you wouldn't sort of put it past him getting an early yellow. But with that in mind, he's averaging 2.04 tackles per 90 this season. And he draws a good matchup against Chelsea, I would say. He'll sort of contest duels with Nicholas Jackson, potentially even Cole Palmer. And with the way Martinez plays, he's very, very aggressive in his sort of approach. He often finds himself a bit isolated in transition, as Man United aren't sort of as adept at defending midfield spaces. So I think he is one to target for fouls. 1.72 is top price with 365. Looks a nice one. But yeah, as I say, be wary with this game. The data always becomes a bit redundant when you have these sort of managerial changes, and I would say it's already a bit of a trap fixture, even before that. So wouldn't force anything. What I will be doing is a proper write-up on this game at some point on Twitter. So again, if you're not following me there, make sure you are. Have a ton of content planned for this week on the Premier League mostly, but also on a few La Liga games. So make sure you are following me and tuned in there. Final game